It says we're streaming on YouTube now.
I guess.
All right. So good evening, everybody. I'm Dustin Coiner from TrackDaz. Tonight's episode of Ask a Superbike Genius is the Superbike Genius himself from Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha Racing. What's up, Richard?
Got it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I saw how good of a job Greg White did over the race weekend last weekend. So, dude.
Because I've been riding him nonstop every weekend. So I think he's got it pretty good. I mean, the guy's a professional voice guy, right? So
yeah,
he should be able to figure it out.
Like, he does this for a living. I'm just doing it for funsies.
Yeah, pretty much. Same here. I don't get paid to do this.
Oh, man.
Robbie Floyd came up to me at the event and says, I wasn't drinking the night before. I said, oh, you watched that?
Yeah, I actually made notes of that because he talked about us jamming him up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And like he said, it was the Road Racing World podcast, but I think it's because the link to it was on Road Racing World. But,
yeah, exactly. He's like, I watched that podcast. I wasn't drinking. When he was calling Josh Herrin, Matt Herrin.
Matt Herrin, yeah. He said he owed him $20. I forgot to ask Josh if Floyd gave him the $20. But yeah. So are you having a good time racing, beating up on everybody, or what?
Well, I mean, one side's beating up on everybody. The side I'm crew chiefing, we're not beating up on everybody. We're working at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I guess turnabout's fair play. Last year, I was crew chiefing the side that was beating up on everybody. So this time it's John getting a chance to beat up on everybody. But yeah, no, I mean, we kind of show that the winter testing really paid off with Jake at least. Yeah, and a year on that bike. I think it's when you go and ride a BMW and you go, I've said this before, and you go ride a Suzuki, that's such a different ride than the Yamaha at pace.
Yeah.
The Yamaha is made to be hard braking, hard turning on the brakes, all those things that Cameron liked. And it takes the guys a little bit of time to get used to trusting the bike that much. Yeah. And that's the learning curve. I think Jake went through that last year, and now he's on rails. I mean, the guy is like riding the best I've ever seen him. He's starting to calm down, but you can still see that he's pretty rough with the bike at times. And he likes it loose. He likes it underneath him, moving around, and he thinks that's okay. Like some people say, "Oh, how was that race? Oh, it was super easy." That's what he said about race 2 and race 1. I go, "Oh, it's about the easiest race I ever had." And I think that's when guys get in the flow, they get in that rhythm, and everything comes to them so easy.
Meanwhile,
you got a phone call, man.
Apparently so.
You were supposed to take out the trash or what?
Dude, it's spam, actually.
Was it?
Anyway, so
I put my phone on silent.
Mine's on silent too, but it's plugged into my computer.
Oh, yeah. See, this is why Greg White's a professional and you're not.
Exactly. Like, that's why he does this for a living, and I do this like for funsies during the week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So one of the things I noticed during the qualifying sessions, Roger Lee was talking about this with Jake. I guess he's not riding motocross so much like he used to. And I guess it was he said something about the motocross bike picking up all the bad habits from that, and like using the rear brake. And I'm like, wow, I wonder where he's heard that before.
Well, we beat up on him pretty good last year, and I think we encouraged him to stop riding his motocross bike and getting a road racer. So I don't know if he ever got around getting a road racer, but yeah, they're a different riding style completely. I've had back in the day motocross guys try to ride our bikes, and they try to ride them like a motocross bike, and it just doesn't work on a road race course. It's pretty hard to cross over those disciplines. So I think it was in Jake's best interest for sure not to ride that motocross bike, only for fitness, for fun, for fitness, but not to go fast, because you do learn a lot of bad habits. The rear brake use, the pushing the bike down instead of hanging off, the early apex, all that stuff you learn is really bad for a road racer. It's completely opposite.
Yeah, so it was good to see you guys kind of lick the wounds a little bit from Road Atlanta and leave that behind you, and looked like the R1s were reliable again and fast still.
Yeah, I mean, Road Atlanta was a bit of a fluke. We haven't had a situation like that, and I can't remember, many, many years. And so we're still slowly working our way around that. I think we had our bar scope down inside the pistons every single session, making sure everything was going okay. Yeah, we had the plugs out, and we're looking down in there taking pictures of the pistons every time we rolled that thing. And both bikes, I think the mechanics got sick of, okay, pull the air boxes off and let's have another look, say off, and yeah, so we're still kind of sorting through that. I think in the winter, we made a bunch of power on these R1s, and we have to be very careful. I think they're a little more on the edge than they were last year. So, I mean, you think about it, we had now 4 races, and 10 of the podiums were on the Yamaha R1s with a Tap Performance product on them. So out of 12 podiums, we got 10. So I think that's pretty good. Only gave up 2 podiums between the Westby guys and us. So I think that's all right.
So, I mean, it looked like, the theme of tonight basically is just the way Jake kind of dominated from every time out on the bike to both races. He kind of dominated there. And then, obviously the progression of Josh, he's got some track time this time, which was cool. And, he wasn't that far off. He was a lot closer to the front this time than he was.
Yeah, I think his actual speed is good. I think now we got to work on the race distance. So his race pace was a little up and down. In the first race, it was pretty proud of him. He fought with those guys, and he made some mistakes. He got pushed back, got shoved wide. All kinds of things happened. Got stuck behind our buddy Perk once.
Yeah,
coming down the hill, had to work his claws way back up again. So that was kind of fun. And so it was a fun race to watch, and he still pulled off the podium. Race 2, he had the shot at the podium, but just came up a little short. His lap times were really good at the very end, but in the middle, kind of struggled a bit.
Yeah, he looked a lot more scrappy than he looked at Road Atlanta. He looked like he looked like the Josh that we know.
In 2000, yeah, he started.
Fist fight, dude.
Yeah, he started fighting back.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to take him a bit to get used to how this bike performs. He keeps asking for his 2018 bike, but I know what lap times his 2018 bike did, and we're going a lot faster now.
Is it that I can't imagine that he'd want that bike because he would actually go slower. I think he's more longing for the confidence that he had in that bike, right?
Yeah. I think you nailed it. That's what he's looking for. So we're trying to search for that package without making the bike slower, if that's the way to put it. Our
Right.
bike produces a lot of grip, and so you have to have a lot of confidence to slide it. So one of the things that we did last year was because Cameron was so good with the feel of the bike on the edge of the tire, we gave the thing a lot of mechanical grip. And so with that, when the bike slides, it's a little more snappy. So then you overlay that with some electronics to control the snappiness of the slide, and you end up with a pretty good slide. You got to be able to drive through it. Like you have to be able to get the edge of the envelope and go past it. And I think Josh is still trying to find that edge where Jake is super comfortable with sliding the bike and having it loose underneath them and braking really hard with the rear tire off the ground, all that kind of stuff that you need to do with these bikes to ride them at that level.
Yeah, I did see that classic emotional Herrin a couple of times in the qualifying sessions. I guess, he had a couple of guys just get in his way,
Yeah.
A couple of them, both of them were bad. Just ruined his lap. Hector Barbera, I think, was the first one, and then I don't know who that other guy was, but Herrin was giving him the business.
Yeah, I don't know Hector that well, but I'm impressed with how fast he's getting up to speed.
Yeah.
Never seen VIR, hops on and in the race he was fighting for a position to run off. So pretty impressive. You can see guys of world caliber, and it's really good for our sport that guys of world caliber come here and we get a chance to beat up on them. Bring it on.
Yes, that's exactly what you guys are doing too. It's really cool.
Well, I don't want to get too cocky. It's like the season's still early and
Yeah.
things can happen. You know, right when you think you're, oh wow, we're set, everything goes to poop.
I mean, look what happened at Road Atlanta, right? I mean, stuff happens.
Road Atlanta, hold on the
No, dude, we're talking about VIR. I'm just saying, like, shit happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Stupid sensors or whatever.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of questions rolling in already. Mick Knutson says that he says, please explain the black box on the podium.
Oh, well, that black box was it was a joke, basically, but the Harley gang is riding by my office. Do you hear them?
Yeah, are you guys
Yeah, no, we have. Remember my place down the street? A place called My Place, that little bar grill thing.
Yeah.
They have bike night, I think, on Wednesdays. The place is packed.
Nice.
Those guys never let off for COVID, man. I was like, no masks, everything's wide open, a bunch of bikers in there. It's crazy. Yeah, packed. But anyway, so that black box is, what's funny is the Ducati guys thought it was our ECU I was holding up, like some special ECU, but the thing was the size of the gas tank. You know, that's our cellular modem. And so John Cornwell got the first team trophy, and the next guy in line was supposed to be Darren Marshall, our data guy, but he's been working remotely from Nova Scotia because of the archaic COVID rules that Canada has with travel, and you get your like prison locked up thing for 2 weeks at the hotel. And so it's made it impossible for him to kind of travel back and forth, and the visa requirements are getting tougher and tougher. So he's been working remotely from Nova Scotia on our data. He downloads the bikes, he looks at everything. So I kind of brought the modem up. We keep calling the modem Marshall.
Okay.
We take the Marshall to the pit wall. We take Marshall back to the truck and plug them in. And then the cell comes up and he remotes in, and then he works on the data, and then he programs the bikes. Like he'll do our fuel mapping for both bikes, and he'll do all the dynamics on the number 32 bike, and then I do all of it on the number 2 bike. So it's been working out well. So I figured he deserved the team trophy because the guy's like 24/7. You know, he works remotely here at the shop too, and I'll walk back in the office where the laptop's at, and he's on there working away, looking at data and making sure we're ready to go for the next event.
That's amazing. How far we've come with technology with this, you know?
I mean, the guy is a computer analyst for Lockheed Martin, sorry, I said Boeing. Lockheed Martin in Canada. So he knows his way around the systems. So it was kind of good to have him on board.
So looks like Maxine, I don't know. Sorry, dude. Says that I am amazed our sport promotes access to Richard. How lucky we are, and that he takes the time. Please know that's very humbling and much appreciated. So.
Yeah, I normally hate people, so.
I don't know, man.
I have to really dig down deep to do this.
Everybody thinks you're super approachable now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then our buddy Ty, the guy that's still probably waiting for that phone call from you.
The guy's going to ride the Superbike?
Yeah. He says
very safely and very slowly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember him.
As a
he's not the truck driver that just got his CDL last week that wants to drive.
No, it's the other guy that wants to ride.
That's the other guy. Yeah. This guy just got his racing license. The other guy just barely got his truck license.
Yes.
Talking about jumping a few steps ahead.
Oh my goodness. So he says, as a pro rider, what does the team expect from the riders fitness wise? Are they paying for or monitoring their exercise, or is it up to the rider to perform?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I haven't addressed the point where we have trainers that we hire to help them, you know, or Yamaha hires, let's say, but most of the riders are athletes, and they train very, very hard. You know, like Jake trains very hard. He lives now at 8,000 feet, and he hikes to 10,000 feet. You know, and only imagine what his fitness is like going up 2,000 feet. He rides a mountain bike at that altitude, and I talked to him about that because he was from San Diego before, and he said, man, he goes, training at that altitude, coming back down here makes everything easy. And when we had Eric Bostrom, I mean, he hopped on his bike back in 2010 in Atlanta and rode his pedal bike all the way to Birmingham. So you can imagine what his fitness was like. That dude was like, right. I don't know if you can ever even measure his fat content because he didn't have any. It was like his muscles were covered by something that was like as thin as paper called his skin. Right. You know, so these guys they work really hard at least the guys up in the front. I know Bobby does, and all those guys, they train pretty hard. So it's kind of up to them. If they want to succeed, they have to train hard. And some guys hire really good trainers and other guys don't. And then, of course, there's a few people that don't train very hard, like Danny Eslick and the Goberts and whoever else. And then maybe they just ride on talent only.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to Josh. He's been doing that mountain bike thing and swearing by it. It was pretty interesting to see him mention that on the podium. You know, he's never been that guy that's, you know,
no.
Yeah, right. And so he's but he was right there at the end still in race 1, and it was super hot there, right?
Yeah, yeah, he got a little sore in race 2, he told me, like in his rib cage and stuff. So his trainer isn't a motorcycle guy.
Right.
So he might have to change up his regiment a little bit. But yeah, he's the fittest I've ever seen him. You know, and Jake is super fit. So I mean, both the guys are pretty fit. If you want to go that many laps wearing a cow, you know, and a helmet. What's that? Yeah, whatever your cow is made out of.
Yeah.
You'll put that thing on in 100-degree weather and go ride around for 45 minutes, and you'll be pretty fit.
So let's see. Alex wants to know. He wants you to talk a little bit about how you set up your sectoring. Like, is it broken into straight, braking zone, corner entry, corner exit, etc. for each corner?
Well, the way the sectors are set up in Morelli is you'll pick a spot, and normally we'll break it up by corner to corner, even if the corners all overlap. We'll put the sectors within a certain meters of each other. Like say it's 5A, B, and then there's 6, and they're all kind of running each other. We'll still put in the distances based on those corners. So it'll be like at the end of each corner, there's usually a short straightaway, and we'll click that length. But the way Morelli and same with Motec does a little bit different. They have engine braking and then they have TC on 2 different sector tables. But Morelli, they use the same sector table, but they will flip the sector based on how your throttle is. So just to make this basic, you don't want the throttle to change power when you're on the gas. So you won't allow it to flip unless you got the throttle almost nearly closed. And then the engine braking, you don't want it to change when you're off the gas. So the engine braking changes when the throttle is nearly open. So you don't get, all of a sudden a sudden change of engine braking and the bike goes sideways or it runs off wide. Same with throttle. You don't want the throttle to all of a sudden flip a map and the next map is stronger. And all of a sudden the guy gets a shove. We had a little bit of that in Atlanta where we had a sector flipping coming down the hill before the last corner because the last corner exit was a different power than going over the rise. Going over the rise, you're pretty dumbed down the power, pretty strong, right? And then coming up the front straightaway, you want it as strong as possible without wheeling or burning out too much and things like that. And you gotta be really careful about what throttle setting you put in there so it doesn't flip automatically for you. But the distances are pretty simple. It's just from corner to corner. Like sector 1 is corner 1, sector 2 is corner 2, sector 3 is corner 3, and so on, all the way to corner 17 at VIR. That's where we break up our sectors, and then the ECU settings basically flip it for you.
So, going back to the riders, it looked like the commenter, Roger Lee and that other guy. It wasn't
Robbie Floyd. No,
it wasn't Robbie Floyd who hopefully gave Josh the $20.
No, yeah, it was the other guy. I can't remember his name. He came by and says, "Yeah, I'm the guy that's taken over kind of a little bit. And I think Greg White or somebody introduced him as, this guy, he's like popular in flat track or something. I said, no, I don't know you. Because my
Yeah.
head's so into our sport, like I never had a chance to watch anything else.
So they were both talking about, I mean, I didn't really get to see much of Josh in the pits, but every time they showed Jake, he looked like he was just sitting there chilling, like he was just hanging out. I mean, the guy goes out, he goes out first lap out and just throws down a ridiculous time to P1 and then comes back in. I mean, it's like his first flyer was faster than anybody, and then he comes in and he's just sitting there hanging out. Even Halverson, like even Tom was in there, like he had his arms folded, he was just kind of hanging out. Like it just, the confidence that he has, it looks like there's no stress at all. Like you guys are just chilling. It's just another day, another Sunday ride kind of thing. So
yeah, I mean, Jake's pretty chill anyway. He's a low pressure guy.
right.
You know, and I mean, he chokes the crap out of the motorcycle, but you know, I think if it had cables, he ripped the cables off it. You know, it's electronic throttle. And anyway, so he's always kind of been that way. Not too much stress, but for sure, the bike came off the truck from Atlanta, and I'm not sure John changed anything on that thing. He might add a little bit of preload before it, maybe for the hard braking, and then I don't think I even saw him change the oil level. I'm gonna go back, look at his notes. I haven't had a chance to look at him yet, but I don't think they changed the spring. I don't think we put sprockets on it and he went and rode it. You know, I mean, they worked on the mapping, you know, power here, power there, because that place is such a roller coaster, and you gotta be real careful how much power you put down, and just make the bike rideable, easy to ride. And that's all we did.
Okay, so let's see here. There's somebody talking smack to Tyler, which is kind of funny. Are there, Mark Johnson wants to know, are there any updates in the ECU software for every season, or is it pretty consistent? Like, are you guys using the same stuff from last year, or?
We're using the same stuff since we had Herrin on the bike in 18. But we didn't use it in 18 because we were using a build, what was called build 6. And then the Europeans came up with a build 12. And we've been using build 12 ever since. You know, we tried it with Josh. He didn't like it because it didn't have that punch, you know, that feel. And then when we had JD on the bike, we kind of fine-tuned build 12. We got it working. And then we gave a copy of that to the Westby guys. And they started running build 12 the following year, which was last year, because they were still on build 6, which was the Yamaha factory team used. So we're on build 12. There's another version coming out. It's a new version. We're on version 5 build 12, and it's version 6 build 2. So when we get a chance to look at it, we'll look at it and see if it's, you know, if the riders like it or not. And sometimes it takes a whole 6 months or something before you get all that stuff tuned in really good. So you kind of don't want to go off something that's working as good as it does.
Right.
Throw in something, you know, like I said, the Westby guys use build 6 for a year, I think, or maybe 2. I know, a year, I think, before they jumped over to build 12.
So, I mean, race 1, you know, Yamaha 1, 2, 3 sweep the podium again, right?
Yep, 10 out of 12 podiums.
Yeah, like that guy. I know those Westby guys are getting close. You know, their 1 lap pace in qualifying is really good, but I mean, Jake, both races basically disappeared, right? I mean, like,
yeah, we came up with a new linkage over the winter. We've been using that, and it seems to be better at the end. I mean, my imagination is it seems to be better at the end, and yeah. I think the work that Marshall is doing on the power delivery seems to make the tire live a little longer. In race 1, we had a little issue with some blistering on the right side of the rear tire. We had 4 decent-sized bubbles happening. I think if we would have gone another 5 laps, he might have slowed down. But Matt Skoltz, he chose the softest front tire because I think it really helped him with his corner entry, and he shredded that thing. And so that's why he couldn't hang on the pace at the end. And I don't know what happened to him in race 2. Oh, I guess he got pushed off the track. Yeah. Baz in his aggressive style. Baz is a pretty talented rider. I mean, that dude he's strong on the brakes, but he pushed a lot of people wide in turn 1.
Yeah.
He just kind of sticks it in there and goes, well, I'm going in there. Everybody out of the way.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. I mean, that dude is definitely hanging it out for sure.
Oh yeah, he's not taking it easy on anyone. You can't say he's over here just on a joyride. He's trying hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and then speaking of turn one, I actually talked to Josh about this a little bit, but it looked like he was struggling to hold that tighter line through that turn one area. So, like, I'm wondering, like, if we could do some kind of comparison between those two guys in that corner to see like what the difference is, maybe, or like.
Yeah, I mean, how are you liking your front end? Because we have a similar rake setup in our Superbikes.
I like it a lot, actually. Like, honestly, I was telling people at Thunderhill this weekend that, I wasn't going that fast either. But it's like going to a new track, you don't ride. So I was learning, but Jacob never touched a clicker on the thing.
That's the best way. I mean, when Baz.
The only thing that we did was gave basically all the power in third gear, and then I put the short foot pegs on. That was it.
I really like the short foot peg in your bike.
I liked it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But other than that, that's all we did.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with the way the bike turned out too. The painter wanted to choke him to death, and then I got it, and now we're like best buds again.
Yeah, it looks pretty wild with all that flake in there for sure.
Yeah, dude, looks like a circus ride.
You got a clown riding it, so you're good.
You know what? While you're here, I'll share it. Hang on, let me show you a picture here. Look at that. Look at that thing. Eh?
My computer's, my stuff's in the way. Yeah, you got to get a close up of the glitter, man.
All right, I'll dig up a glitter picture. Let me unshare.
Looks pretty good though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it kind of looks like just like a similar paint scheme that you have, just like a lot more glitter.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so it was a good time. Thunderhill is fun. I bought a shirt. Like, I was just hanging out, camping, kind of, basically. But yeah, so data overlay.
What do you want to see?
I kind of want to see that turn one thing. It looked like Josh was having trouble there, and it looked like Jake was just ruining everybody there. So, even though
Jake didn't really have any to size up against, though.
What?
Jake didn't really have anyone to size up against.
Okay. Yeah, Josh was kind of scrapping. So, but you could see it was like it looked like he just couldn't get the thing. He couldn't finish the corner or something. Like, he got in there really good, and then it would always run wide.
Right. Well, I could throw something up here and see what we have, if it makes any sense.
And while you're doing that, I'll try to find the glitter.
Yeah, so Josh ran a little different gearing than Jake did.
Okay.
And well, I can share this. It looks like Jake was definitely stronger on the brakes going in. He was holding the throttle a little bit longer. Josh was rolling out a little sooner. And let me just have a look. And then Josh had a lot of engine braking going in there, where Jake didn't have nearly as much. But let me share it. See what we got going on here. All right, let me see here. This one. Here, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so that's VIR, as you can see. Let me just kind of make that a little smaller. And so this is the throttle. You see where they chop? So yeah. Here would be the beam, breaking the beam, the corner. Yeah. And then you would go down the straightaway and you chop. And then this color here is the brake pressure.
Okay.
And then this is where they would open the throttle in apex. So this is on both the guys' fastest laps. This is a 23.8 in race 1 versus a 24.1 for Josh. And so you can see red is up here. You can see Gagne.
Yeah.
The 23.84, and Josh, that's a 24.4. So let me see if I can find a better lap for Josh. One sec. Oh, 24.4. Okay, so that was his best lap in race 1. Okay, so you can see where Jake would come up, and right about where Josh would chop the throttle and brake, Jake would go another, let's see what the distance is on this thing. Yeah, so you would go, let's say he's braking over here at about 120 meters, and he would brake closer to 140 meters, so another 20 meters or so further.
Okay.
You know, that 10, 20, 30, yeah, so more like 110 versus 140, so another 30 meters deeper. You hit the brakes, and he would get the bikes basically slow down and turn a little better, and he wouldn't spend much time. See this crossover here?
Yeah.
Where the red goes to this other red, because this is all the same colors because it's an overlay.
Yeah.
Not much coasting going on in there, you know, so off the brake, on the gas, and he would set the rear. There's something we talked about with Josh. He would set the rear pretty quick, and then he would open the throttle. So he's carrying lean angle, let's say. So you can see the red. See the lean angle here?
Yeah.
Sees like some crazy lean angle, 65 degrees.
Wow.
You know, whether that's accurate or not, you know, it remains to be seen, but it's a lean angle sensor from Pirelli, so it's fairly accurate. So you can see where he gets the bike, cracks the throttle, Jake does, and immediately still got the thing really leaned over. You see it, 65.3 degrees. Where Josh was pretty timid going in there, and then he would open the throttle. Let's go into like exit of 2. So this is it right here. Josh was basically slowing down a little more at the apex, not leaning over as much, and then open the throttle harder. So that's Josh's throttle right there, where Jake was carrying corner speed through there, and then he was opening the throttle, as you can see it going here. So that area in there, whether Josh didn't have a good feeling for the front, which he was complaining about, or maybe he had, see this right here, that swoopy rear?
Yeah.
That's the rear tire skidding going in. That's the rear speed, and you can see the difference in separation from the front to rear. Let me turn off Jake's lap. So you can now you can see it a little better.
Okay.
Turn off Jake's lap, you can kind of see the separation here. That's how much rear skid Josh had going in. He was relying quite a bit on the rear to slow him down, and I think that affected how the front felt. You know, so there was a certain dynamic in the bike that we just didn't get right for him. And then he was stopped in the middle of the corner. Not much coasting still. I mean, it's pretty close, you know, it's not bad. And then, but he opens the throttle really aggressively, like it's almost like he's squaring the corner off, you know, making a triangle out of it.
Yeah.
And he opens the throttle aggressively, and he goes further down on the gas and you know, you can kind of see, let me see here, is this thing moving? No, it's not moving. I don't know why it's not moving. Anyway, this should be in this area here.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so that's the difference there. He was stopping a lot more in this corner and then accelerating off. I could probably bring up the rear wheel speed. And
crazy. I mean, it looked like he was kind of getting in there really good. So
that's the rear brake. Yeah. So let's see here, rear speed. Who was that, Jake?
Josh, he looked like he was getting into turn 1 really good. It's just like when he got the thing on that.
Yeah, he was stopping in the middle of the corner. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. So you can kind of see the rear speed there, and then let's have a look at where Jake's at.
We got a bunch of questions too. Is there a limit to the number of engines you guys get each season?
No, there isn't. Not in Motor America. It should be. I think it's a good idea to limit the engines.
And then Alex is asking, like, how often do you go through parts for the suitor clutches, like pressure plates, springs, etc.? I know, I kind of know the answer to that one. Like, I know you're in the clutch basically every time the bike goes out, right?
Yeah, but he's talking about the actual parts of the suitor, which is, I think some of our suitors are on their second season. So we do rotate engines through. Each guy's, I think we're going through maybe 6 engines for the season, like 3 engines in rotation for a guy, and they get rebuilt once. So each engine does about 3 to 4 events. And so if you're talking about 9 events, we're going to go through 3 engines, you know, and then we got testing and things like that. So yeah, I take that back. It's probably closer to 4 engines per guy with testing. And so I think, I can't remember what the World Superbike engine limit is. It might be 6 or 8 engines.
Mm-hmm.
So if they had that limit, it'd be more than enough. I think they should limit it to like 4 engines for the season. You know, seal them up, and then, you know, if you blow some up, you get to start the back. You know, lose some points or whatever the punishment would be. But yeah, I don't know if Motor America is prepared to start sealing engines and counting engines and doing all that work, you know, for our class. It's better just to let us go at it. But yeah, so anyway, what's the next question?
Let's see. This Mason guy's like, you were at AFM round 3. What'd you think of Thunder Hill? I actually liked it. It was a good time. And he's also asking if Buttonwillow second track will be ready. Dude, I wish I had a best guess on that. No idea.
Yeah, when is that? June 11th, right?
Well, yeah, we're gonna race on the old track in June, but as far as the new track, they're saying the fall, but I mean, who knows? It was supposed to open in April originally, so it's just kind of the consequences of pausing the world for a year, you know, just like everything else. So, I mean, even you guys, I know, have had a hard time getting some parts, right? So,
yeah, OEM parts are pretty backed up, and it's pretty difficult to get. You know, make sure you have everything at that level. You know, we used a lot of used parts and testing just to make sure we had enough new stuff for the season.
So people are kind of, Nolan Lampkin says he thinks that showing the data traces is pretty cool. I wanted to know if you got a little bit more. Maybe let's take a look at turn 14.
What, Jake versus Josh again, or
whatever. Let's take a look at Jake because Jake's the maniac of the weekend, right?
Yeah, so I guess I don't know if I call him a maniac, but yeah, let's go ahead and share that screen again.
Not anymore, huh? He's definitely calmed down. He's definitely, even though we didn't get to watch him much on TV because he was so far ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, 14. My stupid map isn't working, so I have to put a wheel speed something in the settings. But anyway, so he would be going up the hill here, and this would be 14 right here, I do believe.
Okay.
So let's back up a bit. Let's start from the back.
I love that you just look at the data trace and know where he's at.
Well, that's coming down the hill, all on off throttle. That's the front straight right here. You can see all the gear shifts, all the RPMs.
Yeah.
And then you back up, that's coming down the hill, and that's going to be turn 14 right here.
Yeah.
So you kind of, you know, you go up over that rise, you kind of chop a little bit, and then you, boop, you brake, and then you toss it in the corner there. And then you give it a big jolted throttle coming out of 14. You change direction. You kind of see the direction change, flop over. See the lean angle sensor here?
Yeah.
You're going brakes to the right, boop, to the left, and you give it throttle all the way down the hill. And as you're holding it, then you break down into 16 or whatever it is down there, and then you accelerate out of 17. And then over here, you're trying to, you know, not wheelie. You can see here where the front wheel slows down a little bit. Those are actually the wheelie.
Okay.
And, you know, this is traction control, the slip target down here. So this is all kind of the rider screen. There's screens that, I mean, if I gave you a screen like, you know, the anti-wheelie screen, your head would explode.
Ha!
Come on, change. Yeah, this Morelli's kind of doesn't like to be shared and do stuff. Let me stop sharing for a second.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't like to be shared. Yeah, so whenever we do some type of, you know, change panel to something, I got to get off sharing. So anyway, let's go back.
While you're doing that, Mason says Sonoma smurfed the AFM this year. Does that hold true for Motor America? I don't know.
Sonoma? We're not doing Sonoma.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing it, right?
No.
And then Dan Dickerman says he wants to know if you guys have an FI matching manual for the 2017 He says he's got a 19, but it's clear there are some differences.
I think you can download that stuff on the web. Probably have it somewhere. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the 17 is definitely different. The newer stuff is definitely way better. It's all torque based, not throttle control, like we talked about.
Ooh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
This one's from one of your guys, actually, Mike Canfield.
Mike, get a life.
Yeah, he's on here live. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to know, he's like, since everyone's talking about how, quote, different Jake looks this year, how about in that turn 14 area, we pull up Jake and do an overlay between last year's data?
We weren't there last year, Mike.
Oh, womp womp.
Where were you, Mike? Did he go to VIR without us?
Oh, man. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll file that for next time.
Yeah.
That's a good
Maybe
idea.
another track, but you know, Atlanta or something like that. We could probably do an old Jake versus new Jake.
I think let's save it for the next round.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Mike.
Next round is Road America.
Yeah. You guys went there last year, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at a little bit of Jake's data today just to see what I see, and he's definitely improved some of his back shifting. He used to hold the pedal up when he back shifted, and you can see there in some of those graphs where he used to roll off the throttle and stand on the rear brake. You know, now he's much more definitive about his throttle position. It looks a lot more like Cameron's traces. You know, the throttle is off and then the brakes are on. It isn't this rolling off the throttle while he's standing on the rear brake and kind of easing into it with the rear. So you get it sliding, you know, flat track style, you know. And it's a lot more road race style now. I could see that in his graphs. It's basically throttle gets shut and the front brake goes on.
Yeah, and Mike says in his defense, he didn't say specifically turn 14 or whatever.
Okay, so that was you making Mike look bad.
Well, yeah, but you know, it's okay. It's Mike. It's fine. So, this Alex dude's like commenting a lot tonight. Is it necessary to prevent fork bottoming during hard straight line braking? Change to a harder spring, even if it compromises corner entry? Or is it okay to bottom sometimes and stick with the softer spring?
Depends on the rider. I know at some tracks you can't avoid bottoming. Like in Ridge, there's a couple of corners where you're going to go to the bottom. I don't care if you put a truck spring on it. So why ruin the whole racetrack? Ben Spies used to love to bottom everything. He used to like that feeling of the bike on the snubber in certain corners. And same with Josh. He liked that feeling in turn 6 at Road Atlanta. You get kind of a little bit of uphill and the forks go to the bottom and it'll just touch the snubber and sit there. And actually bump stops have a little bit of, they have a spring rate to them. So it's actually like adding a spring. And then the other thing you can do always is raise your oil level if you are bottoming, so you can work the air pressure down at the bottom of the stroke. And that gives you a little more spring rate without changing the fork spring rate, you know, in the middle of the corner. So the fork's made to work in 3 different areas pretty much. You got your top out spring, which you can get different lengths and different stiffnesses, and that kind of controls how the bike goes from topped out, like full throttle, onto the initial part. And then once it leaves the top out spring, you get into the middle of the corner. And then, unless you got a MotoGP setup with a full length top out, which is, we used to run that in the CRT bike. So, and then you have the air spring at the bottom, and then you got the snubber at the bump stop at the very last part of it. So you can tune every one of those segments individually just by changing the rates. And honestly, we hardly ever tune any of that stuff because the forks are so good out of the box that we change the spring rate and oil level. We play with that mostly, and the valving. Gosh, I don't think we changed the valving in Cameron's bike all last year, and I'm not even sure. Jake might have changed his once or twice. He was kind of searching at the beginning, kind of like what Josh is doing right now, searching for some setup which would help him. But at the end, I think but looking at these graphs, he kind of just changed his style to match the motorcycle, which seems to be really paying off dividends.
So for race 2, you know, Jake did the thing again, won by forever.
Yeah, he finally figured out how to launch the bike too.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what?
Cooking the clutch.
It looked like Josh had a pretty good start considering he fell asleep.
Yeah, I guess there's a backstory to that too.
Yeah, so something about the launch control or something.
Yeah, there was a little bit of slight amount of movement on the wheel that the speed sensor sees. And that little bit of movement under when the thing went on to launch control up at whatever 11,000 something RPM, whatever the initial stage is, because the launch control leaves in stages. It'll be like 11 something, 13 something, and then full limit, like it steps it up as you go forward.
Yeah.
So when he pinned it, the thing thought, okay, I'm ready to go. So it set the limit, and then all of a sudden it started seeing a little bit of wheel speed. The sensor was stuck between like a window and one of the non-window areas of the wheel, and had just enough vibration where it thought the rear wheel was moving. So it started changing the rev limit, and then it stopped. So the rev limit was going up and down, and Josh, for a second there, looked down at the dash to try to figure out what was going on, and then of course the lights went off. So yeah, he fell asleep, but it wasn't his fault. He wasn't really sleeping.
That's
you got a good start anyway, because
you know that's what the announcer guys were saying. But you know, I did talk to Josh, and he kind of told me he had a problem with the launch control. He's like, man, I couldn't get the thing going, and then that shenanigans happened, and he still ended up kind of in the front anyway.
Third, yeah. So it didn't really hurt him at all.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I said the same thing when I saw it. I said, man, he was totally asleep at the wheel there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it turned out there was some goofy something going on. Superbikes, man, there was some goofy something going on with something.
He had a good scrap on that one too, man. You know, I mean, like I said, Jake was so far gone they didn't even show him on TV. So, but
yeah, that's a bummer. You know what Jake said about that?
What did he say?
I don't care. I'd rather be far gone.
That's exactly.
I say, man, can you slow down so we get a little bit of TV time for Fresh and Lean?
Oh man, that's what we were doing last year, right?
Yeah, I told Cameron that last year. I said, this racing's getting kind of boring, man. You want to wait a little bit? He said, no.
And he's on a different level, you know. But I mean, you know, Josh had a good scrap there, and you know, he was in contention for the last spot on the podium at the end. So
yeah, if you would have discounted Jake, I mean, that was a really good scrap for race 1, and even race 2. Josh was kind of coming, just didn't have it at the end to get Skoltz. You know, I don't think he knew Skoltz was coming through. It's hard to tell him on the pit board when you're +0. There's another guy that's +0. You know, and so he had a good scrap going with those guys, and Barbara was trying to get in there, and you know, I was kind of surprised. I think Kyle got his bike going pretty decent.
Yeah, Kyle, his Ducati didn't look a whole lot slower than that Warhorse Ducati, did it?
No, it didn't.
Yeah, he's kind of coming along. He's getting in there and scrapping with the front guys a little bit. So,
but Baz is kind of like the size of 2 Kyles.
Well, yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's towering. And he sticks he's so strong on the brakes because he sticks his leg out there and plants that front tire, you know? That thing's not skidding to save his life.
Skoltz too, man.
Yeah, both those guys.
Man, he's dangling his leg forever.
I mean, look at race 2 podium. Everybody there was tall and thin.
Yep.
You still got a chance there. There's still a place for wide,
old fat, like
old and fat. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I was trying to find the right words, but you said it.
It's okay, old and fat. Yeah, I'm looking for that.
There's still a spot for old and fat on the podium.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll join you next. I'll be P3.
Oh my goodness.
It should be a weight category, you know?
Yeah, you know, we joked years ago. I mean, thankfully I'm not near this, but you know, years ago I was, and the joke was we were going to come up with a class called Formula 240, and you had to be 240 pounds to enter it.
You had to be 240 pounds. You had to run super hard tires.
Oh man, thankfully I'm not there anymore. That was like 2006, 7, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, oof.
that bacon diet really worked.
Gotta love the bacon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see here. McNewton wants to know what's the thought of the rear brake. A lot of World Superbike guys are using rear handbrakes, and we're wondering why we haven't seen this develop in Motor America.
Without saying insulting every rider in the paddock, they have a hard time just using the controls they have without adding another one.
Oh, that's just, God damn it, Richard. Yeah, okay.
Let's figure out how to use the front brake and the shifter properly.
Okay. There you go.
We'll graduate the thumb brakes. And I mean, the thumb brake thing, shoot, I remember back in, what was it, 2001, when Mark Miller, he rode our bike in 2000, and then he came to me and he's like, well, Kevin Arion wants to hire me for this much. You want to make an offer? I'm like, no. and he cried about a thumb brake like all year long. Only about a thumb brake, only about a thumb brake. And then I guess Kevin finally put a thumb brake on his bike and he just about lit the rear rotor on fire. He was right around that thing all the whole time. He had to stop and throw dirt on it, I think. So it didn't go any faster either.
That's a lot of extra crap to think about too, man.
Yeah, like, hey, can you lower my thumb brake? Can you raise my thumb brake? My thumb brake's not working quite right. Can you bleed my thumb brake? It feels really mushy. I can only imagine. How about we take the thumb brake off and throw it away? And I'll just work for electronics for you.
Oh man, it's so brutal, but it's so true.
It is true. Everyone's looking for a little crutch. They got a little excuse why they don't go fast. Man up and ride the motorcycle. Come on, shut up.
I mean, like I'm not making excuses at all. I know I'm not the guy. So at least I painted the thing to look cool. So when I'm slow, you could see it.
In MotoGP, I think those guys can use a rear brake a little more effectively than our bikes, because their tires have so much to offer when they get to full lean that the guys can trim the motorcycle, and the guys are that good. If electronics aren't quite working for them, they can trim the motorcycle with just a little bit of brake action. I think our tires aren't able to do that.
So Mark Gagne, I don't know if that's
his dad. That's Jake's dad. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Mark with a C.
Yeah, Mark with a C. Yeah.
Yeah.
MotoGP uses
Mr. Mark at the racetrack.
Yeah.
He goes to the same hair salon as we do.
Oh yeah, he does. He shaves his head, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't remember if that was his dad's name or not, but thank you for confirming that. But he says that MotoGP uses twice as much rear brake as the front on an average lap.
I don't know. They got 2 carbon rotors in the front. And they got a little bitty steel rotor on the rear. And so I'm not sure what he says about. I don't know how he means they're using twice as much.
Yeah, I think I saw there was some kind of article or something about that, about the brake pressure or something. I don't know.
Oh well, yeah, for sure. The foot can way outdo the hand on brake pressure, like a lot more. But it's all about how much can the rear tire take. Like how much do you really want to slow down that rear tire versus the amount of cornering it's doing. Because if you give up certain force, I mean, if you add a certain force one direction, you're going to give up something another direction. There's only so much the tire can take.
So let's see. Matt W was how big was the Attack Racing, or how much power was the Attack Racing R1 in the 90s? Like how much power did those things actually make?
In the 90s?
Yeah, you're
175 or so, 180.
180?
Yeah, about like that. Our 2001 Suzuki GSX-R that Pridmore won our first championship with made 205 at the racetrack on the Dynojet dyno with me pushing on the back tire. And Dustin Schaller riding the thing before he became a big shot at Dynojet.
That's funny.
Yeah. So the horsepower hasn't changed by a lot. Yeah, the horsepower hasn't changed a lot. It's the chassis and the tires and the suspension and electronics. It's making these guys go faster. Think about it. We're breaking track records now on the same rubber and the same motorcycle. How's that possible? You know, year after year.
It's getting dialed in, I guess, right?
Yeah. Actually on harder tires, because some of those records that were there were on real cues.
Oh.
You know, so we're doing on race tires. The cue that we get is basically a race tire. It's a very soft race tire, and sometimes it doesn't go any faster. Depends on the track temperature and things like that. Sometimes we're like, it's gonna be a waste of time putting that on there, but here we go, we have it, and it doesn't really amount to much. Sometimes it's a tenth of a second, sometimes it's backwards.
Well, you know what, that actually kind of brings up something. During the qualifying session, Q2, Jake went out and did one lap on like a brand new tire, and then he comes in and you guys changed the rear tire. You guys put that Q tire thing on. So could you explain a little bit about that?
I don't know the strategy that John had. I think they went out and went on a race tire almost the whole time for distance. Yeah. Is this Q2 or Q3? I mean, Q2. So it was like they changed the format around. So the first one now is FP1.
Yeah.
There's Q2 in the afternoon, and the next morning is Q1 in the afternoon, and then Q2 is the next morning.
Right.
So you're talking about the next morning, Saturday morning before the race?
Saturday morning, yeah.
Yeah, so I think their strategy was run the race tire and then come in and grab the Q.
Okay.
So I think they went a bunch of distance on the race tire just to see what it would do. I don't know how many laps it did, maybe 10. Look at the data and see what they did, and then I think they put the Q on it.
Yeah, he came in, they put a new tire on, he went out, he did one lap, he comes in, and they pulled that tire off, put the other one on.
Yeah, it might have been the second, might have been, I don't know. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it was just...
I was busy on my side.
Little observation.
Yeah.
Herrin came in too, but he came in and it looked like he was pretty mad about the getting balked or whatever on his lap. And
maybe.
Huh?
Maybe.
Yeah, and then you sent him out, and he went quick. You know, he qualified third, right? So
yeah, riders get in the heat of the moment. I don't pay much attention to it.
Yeah, the fist of fury.
Yeah, I don't listen to it. And it's like, okay, what do you want to change on the bike? Nothing. All right, put tire in there. Go. Good luck.
So Chris Bates wants to know if you could show turn 3 data at VIR. It's a hard corner that he doesn't understand. Everything happens on the edge of the tire, and I ride the struggle bus through there. I guess Chris Bates is I think he races one of those twins.
Okay. I mean, what does he want to know?
I don't know. He says he'll show the turn 3 data.
Okay, let me get to it. Let me set it up here for him. Turn 3.
And while that's happening, I'm being asked if what was the power number for your for that engine that was in the CRT bike, and was there anything special in the head or the valve train that made it be that way?
Yeah, that was a Akira cylinder head. That was when World Superbike had really cool parts in them before they started dumbing down the engines with OEM parts. So that thing had Penkel rods, it had Molly pistons, it had a Akira custom cylinder head that they did for the World Superbike team. It was all special casting, CNC machined, that we had taken, and we leaned on it harder, and that thing was somewhere around the 230, 245 range, somewhere in that window, which was probably about 24 shy of the real GP bikes at the time, you know. So yeah, that was that. We weren't under any kind of engine limiting rules, so we were able to lean on ours really hard just to make it live one event, and that was it. Where the real teams, they had to make sure their engines went a while. So what does he want to see in turn 3? There's the exit 2.
He says it's just a hard corner. He's having trouble understanding maybe the data. I guess because everything happens on the edge of the tire.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, turning left, I mean, I could share it with you. I don't know, there's not much to see on this thing, but yeah, let's have a look. All right, here we go. See it? So this is turn 3 in this area right there. So you come out of 2 and then you change direction. So come out of 2 and then you change direction and then you brake. So probably should put in gear in here somewhere. So there's the gear right there highlighted. So you kind of shift to third and then you roll off a little bit, open the throttle again. And then for whatever reason, he cut a little bit again. And actually, Jake wasn't super strong in turn 3. I was showing him, Josh was stronger going into turn 3. That was one of the corners Josh was really strong at. Josh would make up maybe half a tenth on Jake in that section. But, you know, he wasn't like a Mr. Stabber there because you're on the side of the tire. So you'd kind of build the pressure on the front brake. Then you're off and then open the throttle for exiting turn 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So honestly, I mean, as you know, you're kind of braking pretty hard and backshift at the same time. So I think you can kind of see the lean angle. You kind of go over here to 50 degrees or so before you grab the brakes. And then as you grab the brakes, you kind of stand it up for the backshift just slightly, just get your foot underneath it, and then back over they go again. So probably the fact that it's such a front brake corner that most guys are just not good with the feel on the front, or their forks aren't set up properly, or they're not used to putting that much load on the front tire. I think it's all about load in the front. I haven't seen very many people crash on the front there. So I think it's a corner where you can do a lot more than you think.
Chris is saying, you know, basically like how deep are they trailing / slowing?
All the way to the apex. You can see here that he trails, I don't know, almost 2 bars of brake pressure all the way to the apex and opens the throttle pretty aggressively. So he stands it up and spins the crap out of the tire on the exit. You can see how much spin he's getting over here.
You can see it on TV too.
Yeah. He flicks it up and he just opens the throttle, like almost goes to full pretty quick. Of course, in here, there's the actual throttle we're giving him, which I'm not showing you, which is not the same as he's doing with his hand. It's a lot less.
Right.
Yeah. So you go.
Not showing the secret sauce.
Well, there's a little bit there, you know. I mean, you can't possibly give a Superbike full power through that section. You know, not be able to, you know, you got to be able to control how it accelerates. It could spin at 50% throttle. I think our bikes at 50 or 60% throttle make more than a 600. You know, like a built R6. So you can imagine how much power is still available for the other 50% throttle.
So Mark Johnson again is commenting on how so casually that you talk about power in the 230 to 245 range.
Well, it was a pretty built engine. I mean, it's stuff that you can't do to the Superbike nowadays. I mean, I wouldn't say we're there, but we're kind of inching our way there on Superbikes.
Yeah, I mean, you guys still have a lot of stock parts in the engine that probably
What, our Superbikes?
Yeah.
They're all stock except for the camshaft with valve springs.
Yeah, like everything below the head gasket is pretty much a stock engine, right?
Yeah. And they make well over 200 horsepower. And so really 230, 240 is not that far away. And the revs were really high in that engine too. Because again, we had the really cool titanium rods from Henkel, and the pistons are super light. I mean, they make these stock parts look like they're from a diesel, you know, those parts are so cool, but also very expensive. So having 6 or 7 of those things would cost you a lot of money. We got 2.
So Canfield says that, you know, regarding that qualifying situation that I mentioned with Jake, Darren Marshall made a change, and John wanted to test it on a new race tire first, and it worked. So then they went to the queue and saved the 3-lapper for the warm-up. Oh, look at that.
Thanks, Canfield.
Yeah, thanks, Canfield. Appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah, well, that's the way the race weekends go. You know, you're so busy with everything that's going on that you can't catch every detail. People say, "Who won the 600 race?" I have no idea.
I
Pro
honestly,
Twins, I have no idea.
I was at
Super
Thunder
Stock, I have no idea.
I was at Thunderhill and I was watching live timing basically from my pit. You know, I didn't watch the races until I got home. Actually, the next day because I had to sleep. I drove straight home to Thunderhill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the one thing I did get from people was people commenting about some shenanigans on the podium on Saturday.
What was the shenanigans?
The sponsor rolls during the sponsor rolls.
Oh yeah, you know,
I was like, dude, what's
yeah.
you know? Everybody's like, oh man, like, ooh, Josh Herrin really took a shot at you on TV, and I was like, what? Shut up.
He definitely doesn't like you.
Apparently, he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, we're, you know, just a heads up.
It's a love-hate relationship. He loves to hate you.
Yeah, the dude hates me so much, right? Except, you know, he did just loaned CRA some of his.
Well, he hates you, but he still takes care of CRA.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. We ride bicycles and stuff. He didn't really say anything, but then I'm like, are we feuding? I don't know.
Might as well hit him with a chair next time you see him.
I think so. I think we're gonna have some WWE action at Laguna on Monday.
That'd be fun.
You know, oh my God, it's so funny.
No,
Yeah.
Josh is, you know, like riders, they really ride hard and they use a lot of energy and so it's really easy for emotions to come out. That's why I don't pay much attention to it when they come off the bike. You should have seen Jamie hacking back in the day. Oh my God, you didn't want to be anywhere near that pit when he got off the motorcycle.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was a train wreck of emotion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what? We've done some data overlay stuff. You know what? Let's talk about that new bike that Yamaha talked about last week. You know, the R7. There's been a lot of chatter about that thing, and yeah, I guess I might get to ride one on Monday at Laguna, a stalker.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks like it's got some R6 style forks, you know, so we have basically clamps for it already. We have the lift mounts for it already because it takes the same as the R1 lift mounts. We put a set of those on there. Yeah, we're tomorrow we're making some foot controls for it, and they're going to do something, I think, where they do some type of replica bike or something like that. I don't know, to be seen. Okay. And so, yeah, I mean, the cat's kind of out of the bag. They were supposed to do something, I think, kind of secretive, but then they went ahead and released it, probably because somebody already, I think, I don't know, leaked some footage or something.
Yeah, there was.
They went ahead, and I heard that they're sold out. I mean, not sold out, but their pre-orders are really, really strong. So I think it's gonna be a pretty popular bike. And I think the theme there is that you know, for the guys who want to ride a 200 plus horsepower motorcycle, they have one. And for the guys that want to just go have fun at a track day, you know, maybe the MT-07 is a little too streety for them. Yeah. This is a perfect fit. You know, because they can go and not stress out over the big power and going 190 miles an hour down a straightaway. They can go have fun with their buddies, you know, drag their knee and if you chuck it down the road, it's not very expensive, you know. So it's a good learner bike. I think it'd be a good mid-level bike. You know, so we'll see how it fares. Maybe Yamaha will do something with a twins class. I don't know. I don't know their program 100%, but I know we're making some parts for it, so it should be pretty cool.
Do you think there'll be like a race kit thing, a GYTR harness and ECU and all that stuff?
I don't know. You know, I don't think that's the common race kit type bike, but the R3 wasn't either. And so some people in Europe, I guess, there was a kit for it that YME did for World Supersport 300, right? And so that thing had pistons in it and some cams and things like that. Head gasket, base gas. So maybe, you know, the world guys are talking about a pairing, like getting rid of the 600s and having a pairing class where you have twins and triples and 600 and 4-cylinder 600s, and they would have different weights and, you know, probably restrictors and things like that to have it a rider class where a number of different manufacturers go across. If that happens, then yeah, for sure there's going to be probably kit parts for it. But I think there's going to be plenty of builders already I mean, they use that MT-07 style engine and flat track and a bunch of other things. So there's going to be parts out there for it if people actually want to build it.
I did see that it had a slipper clutch, which is a little bit different from the MT, right?
Yeah.
It has a slipper clutch, and then that's really the main thing that I noticed. That was
Well, they reinforced the chassis.
The seat to bar, right? I mean, that was quite a bit different.
The riding ergonomics is very much like an R6. Very, very close, like peg to seat to handlebar ratios, distances, measurements, stuff like that. Very, very close to the R6. So it's going to be a very sporty feel. And I think it's going to be a really good track day bike. I don't know what you guys are going to do with that thing. You guys have a twins class?
We do, actually. We do. And, you know, Yamaha's talking about, like, you know, letting us race one. So like, you already have the TrackDaz crew, like, kind of drawing straws of who gets divs first.
There you go.
You know, the club race, that thing. But like, I'm just curious, does Attack Performance have plans to pimp one out and see what's happening, or, you know,
not with the current schedule we have, but we're like I said, we're working on one with the Westby guys. Mm-hmm. Where we're making some parts for it, and who knows, those guys might end up racing it at some point. And yeah, we'll be there to support it. That's where we're at right now. And like I said, cat's out of the bag with regards to that bike. We kind of talked about it last couple of shows, right?
Yeah.
What does that thing look like? What is it? You know? So yeah, it's a twin and a mid-level bike, and I think they're going to sell the hell out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I from what I understand, they sold out of their pre-orders in like 4 hours or something.
Yeah, they're already over-ordered. I think those guys remember we had a meeting a while ago, and I was trying to tell them that I think you're going to sell more than you think, you know, not without telling them how to do their business, you know. Right. Somebody with an MT, I mean, the people who have the MT-07s, the TrackDaz, they really like them. And this is just a better bike for doing that same kind of riding, because it already comes with the proper ergonomics.
There's most of the comments I see that that riders have about that bike is that they wish that it had more power. You know.
Yeah. You know, there's two, like I said, there's two sides of that coin. One, you know, does power fix everything? I don't know. We did a test where we're limiting Jake's power at Buttonwillow to, I think it was 70% throttle opening, and he went his fastest lap, even down the straightaway. And so, do you really need a bunch of power to go on a racetrack? I would say, if you looked at our data all the way through, no, you don't. You know, so I don't know if having a bunch of power is kind of a lazy man's thing, you know, game where I don't want to go faster through the corners. So I like to have a bunch of power to pass people down the straightaway. Is that what you did at Thunder Hill?
Shut up.
And wheelies?
Honestly, dude, like, that's the one thing people comment about me. You know, I'm not doing wheelies anymore because the bike won't wheelie. I was like, all of Richard's nanny shit won't let me wheelie anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Turn it off.
I can't, dude. I don't want to turn it off. I want to ride the thing.
Yeah, ride fast.
Scary with it off.
I finally shamed you enough to actually race the motorcycle properly.
God damn it. Yes. Okay.
Cool.
I'll own that.
Yeah.
Totally own that. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I did kind of have a game with that on the straightaway. You know, suck everywhere else. Straightaway, that thing's healthy.
Yeah. Pass people at will.
But yeah, it's just you know, that I think a lot of enthusiasts that know what the R7 was were kind of butthurt that they used the name from that awesome bike, but most of the target demographic for the new bike have no idea what the old R7 was 20 some years ago. So
yeah,
there's some of that. And then they're also not recognizing that there's been like a significant drop off in sales in that particular segment. There's probably a reason why some of the other manufacturers stopped going down that road. And, you know, And the sub $9,000 thing seems to be pretty attractive. And
Yeah, what's that thing retailing for? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's sub 9 Gs.
Like $8,900 on mine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cheap for a motorcycle.
Hell yeah, dude. Like, I think my Honda 600 like a million years ago was almost that. So
Yeah, yeah. And this bike probably runs circles around it.
yeah, yeah. Probably makes the same power too.
Probably. I saw we're looking at some dyno data, and we had some pretty strong, MT-07s here, and pretty close to 600 power, if they're built up. So the thing's got a little bit of potential. So I think it's going to be more of a builder's bike if you want to build it, if you want to go fast, and more of a fun bike for people that don't want all the stress of riding a leader bike.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an inexpensive, full-fared sport bike, whereas like usually that price point you end up with some naked thing, right? So
yeah,
I completely understand Yamaha's reasoning behind it. I'm just saying, like, this is the other side of that is like the enthusiast comments, mostly due to the power of the thing, and they're like, oh, it's just this, they just put R6 fairings on an MT-07, and I don't believe that's the case.
Yeah, they did add some reinforcement to the frame too, so it's going to be a little bit more racy than the MT-07 as far as the handling goes.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be interesting to see.
I guess maybe we'll throw the data on that.
Might be a bit before those I2M guys come up with a dash, but we gotta get your bike in here, put that dash on it, so we can laugh at you with your data.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you need. I could bring it by next week.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy up until about America. How about August?
How about when I'm done racing for the season?
Yeah, the season.
People are like, "Where's your data?" And I'm like, "It's in a box. Where is it? Where's the box? It's sitting at the shop."
Yeah, let's see how this week goes. Maybe the balance this week. Maybe we can do it over the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's make you do all the work.
Oh, you're gonna make me do? Yeah, as long as you give me a discount on my own labor.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, hey, the building costs money, man.
Oh my God.
I've seen those signs where the rate is this much if you watch, the rate is this much if you help, the rate is this much, and keeps increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm fully aware.
Yeah.
All right, Richard, it's been a good time, man, and I wish you the best of luck at Road America in a few weeks, and keep doing that whole beating everybody up thing. That's kind of
there's no guarantees there, man. That's like a real pro style racetrack. I think Baz will be fast there, Stoltz will be fast there, Bobby will be fast there, and a guy that's been kind of riding pretty decent is Cameron Peterson. He's gonna be fast there, and Josh really likes that track, and he was always fast there. So I don't know. It might be a barn burner. I mean, people should tune in and see what happens.
So I hope so. It's been good to watch. I mean, Cam Peterson, man, that guy, he was ripping last weekend. So
yeah,
yeah, that Barbara guy too, man. I'm surprised that guy is able to go that fast on that old thing.
Yeah, I was talking to Cam for a little bit, and I said, man, you must be a little pissed off with Baz pushing me out of the way a few times because he made my airbag deploy twice.
Really?
Yeah, bumped into him. I guess the wing of the Ducati cut his suit at one point.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he went up underneath them so close, and because you're hanging off, and the wing is kind of pointed up, so it came up and tagged him.
Oh man.
Like under the arm type thing, probably where the suit's kind of thin right there. And made his airbag deploy.
I don't know what kind of suit he's wearing or airbag he's wearing.
He said, it's all good. I'm just going to pay him back twice as hard. That's what he said. I said, cool.
Yeah, that sounds like Cam Peterson.
Yeah. Pretty positive guy.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a deployment. I've had a false deployment before, but I mean, that doesn't sound like a false deployment. It sounds like it went off like it's supposed to.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So
can you imagine driving down the road and your airbags in your car go off, and just get your attention?
Yeah, I mean, just to give you kind of an idea of what it feels like when the deployment happens, it feels like a giant gorilla giving you a bear hug all of a sudden.
Yeah, that gets your attention.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's like, oh goddamn. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so Road America should be fun. We're looking
Yeah.
forward to it, man. Our bikes always go good there, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, your bikes are fast. You know, your speed traps always pretty close to the top, if not the top.
Yeah, I think Josh had the best. Maybe the Ducati was close, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and see if that Kyle gets the Panera bread thing happening, and
Yeah, no, he's another guy that's
nice
come up.
pick.
Yeah, no, he's another guy that could have some speed at Road America. So it should be a good event to watch.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll be watching. Best
Cool.
of luck to you, Richard, and
All right, man. Later.